order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Amy, please note that all council members are present at tonight's meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes that was emailed to us?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Those in favor? Vote carried. First on the agenda, sorry, getting ahead of myself. Brant, if you're out there somewhere, you are first on the agenda when we get the minutes signed.
Brant?
You're first on the agenda for your additional, once the minutes are signed. Sorry, couldn't see you way back there. The lighting is messing with my eyes tonight, so I'll apologize now. Right, Brant, we got on the table an additional appropriation for highway department.
Yeah, I'm looking for an additional appropriation from the maintenance fund. This last couple months have been really hectic with our equipment. We had 6 trucks total down. We finally got 3 trucks back, and I believe we still have another 2 trucks down there still. Probably spent roughly anywhere between $30,000 to $50,000 in maintenance. Definitely well out of our budget. But we're looking to seek some additional funding to try to get us through the rest of the year.
Any questions on the request?
We talked earlier, do you anticipate this pretty well getting you through the end of the year then?
I'm anticipating, yes.
Okay.
I'm hoping so.
Okay.
Just for the heck of it, what kind of issues you having to where that many went down?
We had engine blow up, and then once we got to put a new engine in it, a turbo blew. And then we got 2 trucks that had wiring issues. Our semi, the hydraulics, we had a bunch of hydraulics issues with that. And we are, Todd, the red truck.
It's another wiring issue. It'll be probably, it can be anywhere from $8,000 to $20,000. They have put all new wiring harnesses in on the truck.
Yes, not a lot of it's been wiring issues. It's been very, very expensive to fix. And we can't keep trucks down, so we had to put money into them to fix them.
And is this where we're putting money into very old trucks just to keep from avoiding new, I'm assuming?
Yes.
How much is a new truck?
New truck,
Just, yeah.
I believe it was around $275,000.
Okay.
I'll
But
Go ahead.
On that note,
I'll make a motion, we approve
I'll
this.
second it.
I've got a motion and a second on that note to approve, to keep repairing the truck. Those in favor? Vote carried.
thank you.
No, thank you. And we've got the jail transfer next on the agenda, once this is signed.
You need a flashlight.
Sheriff, would you like to explain the jail transfer, please?
Need somebody else go next?
It's for part-time.
Okay. Katie from SCAT?
You're doing a great job. Keep up the good work.
So now that we got that checks in place and everything's lined out, is that something you do quarterly, biannually? I don't remember. It's been so long.
It's
Annually.
out of, tax returns at the end of, from April, that everyone's gonna have in. So once that happens, in special cases, we'll take it out of like paychecks, but for what we have, it'll be, it'll probably be even more by.
And you were able to go over the 3 years and collect bad debt?
Anything that we could, yeah, there was some deceased, that I had to remove from the list, but yeah.
Okay.
And then anything that, the collection agency still has on, we can't do anything with right now, but if the collection agency drops it, and they haven't, they're not deceased or whatever, there's no specific reason other than just they've tried all they will, we can add them on as they go, and they'll give me updates.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, we can. The council was given a complaint from Mrs. Angela Allen, who would like to formally present this to our attorney for review. Partially because I can't read it in the lighting in here, but. Jason was trying to get information on that.
He's
So
checking
while
on
we're waiting on that, we go ahead, anybody object, just going ahead and moving on to old business? All right, we go ahead and start with MB Energy. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is John Nyland, Vice President of Thermal and Technology Development. I'm here to give you an update on the Sycamore Riverside project that we're developing over by Fairbanks. That project is going to be a simple cycle combustion turbine capable of firing both natural gas and oil as a backup fuel. It's approximately 930 megawatts. And we plan to actually start construction this fall. To date, the project what we have is, we have an air permit from IDEM that allows us to construct the facility, and we've got a declination of jurisdiction from the IURC, as, you know, given the fact that we're an independent power producer. We're in the process, actually, of selling the project to American Electric Power, who will have a separate IURC hearing to approve that process. So we've been in negotiations with the county for an economic development agreement, which has an associated road use agreement. And I think we've agreed to terms with the county on the economic development agreement, and we're still in discussions with the county council in terms of pre-construction road improvements that they had requested. So, right now, just to give you a little more background on the project, the natural gas will be provided by DT Midstream from the 30-inch Midwest gas pipeline that runs through that area. It's going to use a right-of-way that AP owns. It's the old railroad right-of-way that went to the Breed plant. And so that pipeline will be installed substation. Trying to think of anything else I can add to that. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
I have questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you care to come up here?
You're not choking or anything, are you?
Do what?
You're not trying to get him within choking distance?
No,
Okay, just want to make sure.
So can you tell me who is paying for the infrastructure costs to build this? Is this the ratepayers, or will you guys be paying
Currently,
for it? Because I kind of been following you on the Indiana Regulatory Commission,
Mhm.
and I'm just wondering if you can kind of fill me in.
So the construction of it, we're gonna be privately financing that, and then upon completion, upon commercial operation, it'll be sold to American Electric Power, and I think they will probably put that in their rate base.
Okay. And so you're going to sell it to them, and is it going to the grid? Is it
Oh,
going to
yeah.
IPNL, or are you using it for what?
They need the power to satisfy, their load requirements.
Okay.
So, it's a peaking facility that operates intermittently, and, it's really meant to operate only when, there's a peak power demand. So our estimate is it'll run about 20% of the time.
Okay.
And this is all
Yes, sir.
is this all going on line and ground now? Is that what I understood? The AEP properties where it's going?
No, it's south, you know where the Sullivan substation is?
I do.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we own a 356 acre parcel
Okay.
to the south of that, so it's going there, and then where 800 north, turns into a gravel road.
Right.
So we're gonna construct a transmission line from that site, it's the corner of 925 and 800, up to Sullivan. It's about 1.2, 1.5 miles.
How many transmission lines do you expect to be going out of that plant in the future? Or are you gonna be able to tie on existing lines that are there, or are you going to have to be?
There'll be two lines coming from the plant up to Sullivan substation. So each line connects into, a separate breaker
So you don't
position at Sullivan.
anticipate any new building of power lines going through a lot of properties or anything like that after? it
It's,
gets constructed?
yeah, just
Pretty well
two
within.
lines, all on AEP property.
Okay. And then you said you're going to be selling to the electric company prior to ground break or after ground break?
After commercial operation. So it's our responsibility to build it. And we're currently in discussions with the construction contractor, to finalize the cost and the scope. We've already placed orders for the machines from GE and the transformers and the breakers and other major electrical equipment.
So what are you requesting from us tonight? What are you looking for?
This is, there was a resolution to approve, I think, the economic development agreement and the associated road use agreement.
This is just a preliminary approval for the abatement.
Yeah.
So we have, as John said, we've come really close to finalizing a proposed form of EDA in the road use agreement. We've been working really closely with Jerry on that, and with Bob and the commissioners on the economic development agreement, like over the last year. Really, it's been pretty drawn out, but at this point, we're really just here to do the very first step in the abatement approval, which is to approve that schedule preliminarily, the area where that parcel, or the two parcels is, to designate it as an ERA. Nothing is final, it just opens the door to the more approvals. The next meeting would be advertised in the newspaper, there'd be a public hearing for the public to give comment, ask questions.
So, go ahead.
I guess my biggest concern is you're asking for an abatement process to get started basically tonight. And you're at the same time saying you're gonna sell a company here in the next 12 months. It's distasteful to me for us to make decisions on making abatements with a company that's not going to be here longer than 12 months. I think that ought to be done with the company that's going to be here long term, because it's the electric company that's going to determine electrical rates for all of our consumers here in the county, not you, because you're the construction company. You won't be setting rates, and we can't ask the company that's going to be setting rates what they're going to do to help fund it. So I have a hard time personally, starting a process with a company that's not going to be here longer than 12 months. That would be my take.
Yeah. American Electric Power has reviewed the Economic Development Agreement, and they've agreed to the terms. If we want to have them have a representative here,
We haven't seen it.
Yeah.
you haven't seen it?
We have
haven't
not
seen
seen no EDA, nothing.
Oh,
So, I do have one question before we go further. You said it's going on this ground, which we've talked about for a couple of years now, but is that ground purchased 100% complete, done now?
Yeah.
Okay. I know last time we spoke, it was still.
under option, yes. No, we
but-
bought it last
But it is
July.
purchased, it's done.
Mhm.
Okay. Just wanna make
I
sure.
guess my thinking is that, so, in your mind, you know what you're gonna spend, but you know all new construction ends up costing more than what, so, have you set a price with your new owner?
We have given them a price, yes.
Okay. And if,
it's-
if building it goes over that amount, who's gonna be responsible for that? The ratepayers?
No, the way the purchase and sale works is there's a cap, and you can't exceed it. So, and that's the discussion that we're having with them right now.
Okay. We haven't seen nothing. We don't know what
Oh,
you're
okay.
offering this county. We have no
I thought
idea.
that's.
No.
The commissioners,
We're here to
you know,
present on that tonight as well.
Okay.
Frequently at this stage, we don't necessarily have the document finalized, but we would ask you to approve that at the next meeting. So Jason's here to talk through all of that.
Okay, and then my next question is, will you be bringing in your own union people, or are you gonna be using local workers and union? What have you
It's gonna
decided?
be a union site. The contractor will self-perform some of the work with their employees, but they'll be subcontracting a good portion of the work. And I think in this labor market, if there's local union labor available, they would love to have it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I would take it, it's probably a specialty union, being that's a gas.
There's
Power
there's
plant.
many, millwrights,
Mhm.
pipe, there's, a number of different specialty
Okay.
labor that has to be used to build the facility.
And can you tell me, how many jobs are you bringing?
Permanent jobs, once the thing is
Yes.
complete? It's probably 22 to 25.
Mhm.
And
Now-
construction jobs. What about construction jobs?
Overall, the number of labor man-hours is about 1.2 million. I think the peak labor force is 300, at the peak. And it's a two-year plus construction cycle. So if we start in September, it won't be commercial until March of '29.
Okay, you said you'd be using your own people and then also a fair amount to the local union. What would you guesstimate as your fair amount type of a thing? I mean, 20%, 50%?
I couldn't guess, because I personally haven't been involved in the construction, EPC contract negotiations.
Well, I'm looking for real numbers because we've been told by other people, other companies, oh yeah, we're gonna use it, and a fair amount, and then little to none. Their fair amount is a difference, so I'm looking for, if you go to do this, we'd like to have some real numbers, or at least close estimates.
Yeah, an estimate of the construction labor
That
and
you'd be
the
using
breakdown
local,
of,
Not
yeah.
just farmed out.
Mhm. Okay,
What kind of jobs? Permanent?
operators.
Operators,
Mhm.
engineers,
Yeah, there would be engineers, there would be
secretaries,
operators.
receptionists, groundspeople?
Yeah,
Okay. I'm sorry, I drilled him enough.
Do you know what their wages will be? Like what their salaries, wages, dollars per hour?
For your permanent jobs.
How much a year are these jobs paying?
For the permanent, the salary range, I think, it's probably in the 80 to 120,000 a year, I think. The plant manager being at the high end of that, and, you know, perhaps a laborer, you know, being at the lower end of that scale.
I know your background. Are you gonna bring one in?
One what?
What your background's in?
My background?
Mm-hmm,
Well, I'm an engineer,
yeah,
yeah. I'm not sure what you're asking.
nuclear.
Hmm?
Nuclear.
Oh,
Is that your next project?
No,
Invenergy?
I'm not gonna, my nuclear days are over.
Okay, all right.
Do you plan to build a wastewater treatment plant at your facility, or what are you doing with your wastewater?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Are you planning to build a wastewater treatment plant?
Hang on just a second, please. If we're gonna have questions, please address them to the council and then let us be recognized, that way we don't have, and I know you're just speaking right now, but to keep multiple people from speaking at the same time, if we could raise our hand and then allow me to recognize, then we can have one person speaking at a time. Okay, please continue.
So for your wastewater, are you building a plant or like an all-in-one package, or are you planning on doing?
For, water,
Yes.
Sullivan Vigo is gonna be expanding their system to provide water to the facility.
And the wastewater?
And wastewater, there's really minimal wastewater, for the facility. The project does have an NPDES discharge permit that's used by IDA. That's essentially for clean wastewater that comes from a process where the inlet to the combustion turbine has what's called a evaporator cooler, and you blow that water down. It's just clean water. It goes to the detention basin and the storm water. If there's any other oily waste or, you know, water that, you know, can't be disposed of in that manner, we'll have a wastewater holding tank, and then that water will be tested and then sent off-site to a wastewater treatment facility for proper treatment.
I got a question back there, Jeff.
Do we need to, I mean, this is not our public hearing on the project, do we need to keep entertaining questions, or should we move on to the financial?
That is up to you. There will be a public hearing. Should the council approve this initial step, then the next step would be to hold a public hearing at which you can have as many comments as, you know, the council sees fit. It can be noticed in the papers what's happening, so that would be a time that.
Council,
And
we
to set
want,
the stage a little bit for the council, in these instances where you're going to be doing abatements, it is typical to take the first step, then the negotiation for the economic development agreement occurs. In this instance, because of the way the project has developed over time, much of that economic development agreement has been fleshed out. So in that sense, this project is further along in that regard than most of the projects that come before you for tax abatement. And again, this is the preliminary step. It's not approved until the final step, which is done after the public hearing. And with regard to who the owner ultimately is, the economic development agreement provides that it is binding upon successors. So the purchaser is going to have to comply with the terms of that economic development agreement as well. And that is the case with all of them that have been done to this point. With regard to the terms of the economic development agreement, this agreement is very similar to the terms of the solar agreements that you have reviewed before. It's not completely, the apple's not completely polished up, but it's kind of shiny. So we kind of jumped into the middle without giving you that foretaste, which was my fault. We should have probably explained that before you started.
Jeff, can I ask Lou a question?
it's a nice question.
I'll be nice.
Okay, yeah, so it should be nice to let you ask the question.
What's the difference between us doing an abatement? They didn't need an abatement on the data center. It was a road use agreement. What is different why we need to do an abatement now?
What is, well, the data center elected not to seek an abatement.
Okay,
as a result, the county is not getting economic development payments. The county is not getting protection for setbacks that they get with solar, which is a little different for the data center because it's more of a compact thing than the solar, which is more spread out. You're also not getting the benefit of the guarantees regarding protection against future changes in the tax law that you get with abatements. As you know, the legislature has toyed, I mean, several years ago, they were toying with the notion of, as a matter of fact, I think passed a complete removal of personal property tax abatement, or personal property taxes. And they ultimately changed their mind about that because they got feedback from redevelopment commissions all over the state who said, we got bonds outstanding that are payable from personal property taxes. So they reversed that, and then they came back last year and removed the floor. I've since put that back for utility property, but you don't know what's going to happen. So if that 30% floor were to get removed again on utility property, you could end up with a facility that after 3-5 years is paying virtually no personal property taxes. The economic development agreement protects you from that because it's an obligation on the part of the people getting the abatement to abide by, basically it locks them into the current tax structure. And that's a huge benefit. When you look at the life of one of these facilities, that goes on for a long time.
So they weren't able to put any protections in the road use agreement on the data centers, what you're saying?
They did a road, I believe they did a road use agreement.
There are a lot of similar protections in it. I would just say really the main difference was just the nature of the project and the sheer amount of money being put into it to get it on the grid as soon as possible and constructed. So that's why they wanted to forego as many of the approval steps as they needed, and they could afford to do that. So that was really the difference there, I think. They're just a different beast.
Okay.
I've got a question. About how many dollars have you already invested in this project before you came here? How many dollars have you invested?
Well, with the equipment procurement, I think to date, we've spent close to 100 million.
How much?
100 million.
100 million.
Now, question for the council, this is not our public hearing. Rather than continuing to discuss, do we want to move to Baker Tilly's presentation, let them give us the summary of the project that they have prepared?
I do have one thing I say first, if you don't mind.
Please.
I know this process has been going on a while, but it's real concerning when we get an email at 9 o'clock in the morning when we're working our full-time jobs to try to be prepared to potentially vote on something that, you know, in the normal phase, it would go to the redevelopment meeting, go to the commissioners the next week. We kind of know what's going on, but today we were kind of, well, hey, we're going to talk about this tonight. We only know what we're talking about. So it's kind of hard for us to be prepared, is why we're asking a lot of questions. I know it's all a different animal, but we have no idea what we're talking about.
It followed that course in part because the Redevelopment Commission acted on this in
24.
24?
Yeah,
Late
earlier.
2024, and then things kind of didn't progress from that point, and it stalled, and then it came back on, and there was, then in 2025, there was a lot of discussion around the EDA, which is primarily the commissioner's
Yeah, see,
task.
we don't hear about it.
So it wouldn't, you know, it had, you don't have typically much involvement in that. And then I'm not sure what flipped the switch, but suddenly it rose to the top of the pile, and that was like maybe 10 days ago, and we concluded that given the fact that it was a preliminary approval, and that you could, all you're doing is say at this point, yeah, we're willing to look at this. That we thought, well, the developer wants to get the project moving now. Let's go ahead and do that, because we kind of, there for a while, thought maybe we'd fallen off the page. So we decided to go ahead and prevail on you to put it on the agenda for this meeting, with the understanding that we would have a clear opportunity over at least the next 30 days to look at it. So that may have been a mistake on my part to do that, but I thought we kind of needed to get it.
I just wanted to clarify, we're not voting on anything, because I need time to read this, and I don't.
Basically, you're voting to say, yeah, let's look at
the
this.
project.
Yeah.
I'll also just add, I mean, so the county with Baker Tilly's help developed an economic development payment proposal last year. Everything kind of was at a standstill, largely in part due to the SEA 1 and the removal of the depreciation floor and some things like that. The company kind of backed off at that point, and we didn't hear much. And then they came back to us this year saying, now with all the changes that have come back, whole other different factors, they were ready to accept our original proposal. So that's why there hasn't really been much discussion, is they've been pretty willing to agree to what we asked for, which is what Jason's gonna kind of walk you through, so.
I would say it was really the negotiation of the road use agreement.
Yeah.
That was the primary driver to the delay.
There's been a hold harmless agreement approved and put in place with a bond posted for that so far, so there's been at least that step kind of in motion already. But yeah.
And Jason, with that, we'll yield the floor to you and keep moving. So you got big letters.
So these are, again, Jason Sandler, Baker Tilly, serving as financial advisor for the county. And we had been asked to put together some numbers for the county. And we've been, as mentioned a couple times, working on this project for a couple years now, putting together numbers and scenarios, partly due to how the law has changed back and forth for the last couple years. So wanted to talk to you about the investment and kind of the potential taxes that would be paid. So if you look at page 3, kind of skip to page 3. So this is looking at about a $506 million investment. This is the most recent cost estimates that we've received to date. About $500 million in utility property, and we're estimating about $6 million in real property improvements. So page 3 looks at what that assessed value would look like, assuming the 7-year modified abatement. That's what the council has approved in the past in their prior projects. So again, trying to keep things consistent. And just as a reminder, that 7-year abatement means the first year they would be paying 100% of their taxes would be exempt. Second year, 90% would be exempt, to be paying taxes on 10%. The third year, 80%, and then the final 4 years, 75%. And keep in mind, that's just on the utility property and the real property improvements. And real property improvements is like any buildings, infrastructure, fencing, potentially that they would put up. So that's why you see the utility property. I mentioned that the project could be done as March of 2029. So we assume March of 2029 means it gets assessed 2030, paying taxes in 2031. So that's why you see in 2031, you see a 0 for utility property and the improvements. But just like we talked about in the prior projects, land, you cannot abate the assessment of land. So we're assuming here that once the project gets under construction, there should be a change in a land value because of the usage change. So we're anticipating an increase of about $1.8 million in assessment just because of the change in land value. But you can see the utility property. You can see it gradually increasing, and then by year 2038, once the abatement phasement is over, the total assessment would be about $148 million of assessed value. And again, this is assuming under current law, this assumes that the 30% depreciation stays intact. Now, if you go forward with the project and with the EDA agreement, just like what we've done in other projects, the company agrees that that 30% would continue to be in place. So if there were any future changes in law per the agreement, they would still be bound to this type of depreciation.
You're talking about the 30% depreciation floor. Are you talking life of the project or life of the abatement?
Life of the project, which is 20 years, or life of the EDA, I should say, so 20 years. Good question. And then the improvements, you can see, again, 7 years abatement. We're assuming that the assessment will be about 50% of cost, so $3 million after the 7-year abatement phase-in is over. And again, the land, about $2 million. So the far right, you can see the estimated assessment, how it's anticipated to grow over time. And then if you turn the page, looking at the estimated taxes that the company would pay, again, this is in Fairbanks Township, so the tax rate's about $1.82 or $1.88 for this year. So you can see again, as those abatements wear off, you can see the property taxes, how they increase over time. So we're showing the utility property, real property, increase in land value, and the total for the investments. You can see after the 7 years, this is again keeping the tax rates flat, so it doesn't assume for any increase in tax rates. Assuming the tax rate stays flat, you're looking about $2.8 million in property taxes that they would pay. The next column over is the economic development payment. You know, for prior projects, these numbers is kind of a combination of the amount of megawatts that they're generating, plus also based upon a percentage of the savings that they're going to be generating from the abatement. So based upon that similar calculation that we've used before, if you look at the total down there, it's about $15,595,000 of economic development payments paid over a 5-year period. And that first payment, we're talked about, that would start, I think 60 days after the certificate of occupancy. So that could be as early as 2029. But we're showing you 2030 here. So I think per the EDA agreement, the facility has to be in operation by December 2029. So this is kind of conservative, that you'd receive your first payment in 2030. And then we also showed, you know, as you know, the county also has an abatement fee that it charges anytime that they give an abatement to a company. So it's the lesser of the actual 5% of the savings, or $100,000, and in this case, they'd be paying $100,000 in abatement fees during that 7-year period as well. To the far right, you can see the total benefits to the county in the combination of property taxes, or TIF if you decided to TIF the area, economic development payments, and abatement fees. So you can see, really, if you were to TIF the area, capture the revenue, you can see that the far right column, the total amount of revenue is almost $58 million over that 20-year period. And if you discount that today, the present value, you're looking at about $33 million in today's. So before I go on, I'd be happy to answer any questions on. If not, but one thing we were also asked to kind of illustrate to the county, you know, this is kind of a what-if scenario, but this is the kind of risk that the county could potentially be taking if you don't have an EDA or some kind of agreement signed with the company. On page 5, you can look at the utility property. Let's say legislators come into session this spring and they decide, no, we want to go back and have no floor for utility property, which is what they did a couple years ago before they switched it. So if you look at the utility property, we're showing that by year 6, the equipment could be depreciated down to 0. Now in theory, when I talk to most companies, there's usually some residual value, but it's very, very small. But in theory, it could go down to 0 by year 6. Now your real property, that shouldn't change. I think that's all assessed locally by your county assessor. Shouldn't any change in land value. But but you can see how that, if the equipment is allowed to depreciate to zero, you can see how that greatly reduces really the benefit that the county receives. And that's why that EDA payment is so, or EDA agreement is so important to the county, because it protects you from something like this happening. And it's not just legislation, as Lou mentioned, it's binding to any successor companies, which I know when we first started talking about, me coming here, that was one of your big concerns was what happens if, company builds the building, puts in the equipment and sells it, and the person who buys the equipment pennies on the dollar, then the amount that you're getting assessed is significantly less than what we all agreed upon. This EDA agreement protects you from that as well. The next page just looks at, the taxes, and that would be collected based upon this, illustrative scenario, no property tax abatement, but also no floor. Again, we're looking at $58 million in benefit over that 20-year period. It drops down to $14 million over that 20-year period on page 6. So again, just showing how important to the county of having that 30% floor maintained in either the law or some kind of agreement. So be happy to answer any questions.
Have you done any analysis at all on what the tax implications of Heartland is going to do to the property taxes in the county?
Yes, we have. I don't have that with me. And one of the things, that would all depend upon whether you decide to tip the area or not. Because if you tip and collect 100%, then we wouldn't see a reduction in property tax rates immediately. But we do have that, and we can provide that for you.
I think it would be important to see with a $65 billion investment, what that does to our property taxes, to see what that actually does to the taxes of all these other companies that are coming in as well. Because that's gonna be a huge impact on taxes. And before we wanna make too many decisions, it's hard to make a decision if we don't know where we're headed, when we've already got a project that's broken ground and going forward.
We can run.
I agree.
And again, a lot of this assumption is based upon a zero floor on the equipment, I get that, but that's not where the law's at right now, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then another question I've got, I know that we do a lot of business through the EDAs, but since we had Heartland come to us without an EDA and no abatement, is there a way that we could put some of this language in the road use agreements? Because just about any company that comes in is going to have road use agreement because they're gonna be on our properties. So is there any way that you could put a lot of that language in a road use agreement that's in the EDA so that they can't circumvent the system of being able to avoid some of these issues?
I mean, that's essentially what they did in Heartland, in a combination of the road use agreement and the community enhancement agreement.
See,
That's what it was called there. The issue there wasn't what was in the agreements, it's how they were followed.
But I think that we need to put more teeth in our road use agreements.
Yeah,
Because
we have been working on
Heartland
that.
set the stage for how to do it. And now somebody else could do the same thing. And we could get enough teeth in those road use agreements to where they don't have a loophole to get around it.
Yeah, we've been working very closely with Jerry on that, and tightening up all the road use agreements since then, that are being proposed. The commissioners have not reviewed those or considered those publicly yet. We would think that would probably be the time they review the EDA, prior to council's next meeting on this, but yeah, that's something we're prioritizing for sure.
And another thing I see is that, I know you referred to this as similar to the solar use, but the solar pieces setbacks were important because they're up and down a road on every road, and these are hard buildings they're going up, so I don't see the setback and that sort of issue is gonna be near as important to us as it would be in the solar situations. But, that's all the questions I've got.
Anybody else have questions for Jason regarding the financials of the
The only
project?
thing I was thinking is because of the $65 billion that Heartland's bringing in here, it's gonna make our taxes flush. Then what, if we don't tip it, but if we bring anybody else in and abate it, what's it doing us any good? if we're already at zero? That's where I'm at.
That's why I feel like we need to get the information in terms of what Partner's going to do for us from a taxation standpoint, so that we can make educated decisions on what we do with any other business that comes in.
Anybody else have anything?
With
If you'd
that,
like to make one.
with that being said though, Jason, I do want to, if you present that at our next meeting, we do want time to look at that before we would be expected to vote on something.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that out there,
Yeah.
so that,
We can have
so
that.
we don't expect to do everything all at the same time, because it does get confusing.
I'll make a motion, we approve the preliminary resolution of the creation of an economic revitalization area.
We got a motion on the table, do we have a second?
A second that we continue to look into options to do this.
Well, we've got a motion and a second, those in favor? Those opposed? The vote carries 4-3. Jason's back in the room, let's circle back to. Yes, sir.
Are you open on the floor to questions for energy or no at this time?
No, let's just keep moving, if we could, please. Sheriff Bobbitt?
Is the transfer you're talking about for medical or for, part-time? Our part-time employees?
So I've lost it now.
So we're just using more part-time help to fill in gaps, so we fall short on that budget, or?
Yes, but, I mean, we rely big time on part-time, and it's hard to keep benefits and pay, so they don't stick around very long, so we gotta, the ones that we have, we're using them to fill in for vacations and stuff like that, so.
I'll make a motion, we approve that.
I'll second it.
Got a motion to approve the second transfer, those in favor?
Thank you.
Vote carries. All right, that's all we have on the agenda for old business. For new business, we have Susie's Place.
There, thank you for having me. I'm Emily Carey. I'm the CEO and founder of Susie's Place Child Advocacy Center. This is Kathy Stoll. She's our Chief Development Officer. We're presenting to you tonight about a packet of information that hopefully you received ahead of time to let you know that we're asking for $15,000. Susie's Place responds to reports of crimes against children. We've been serving Sullivan County out of our Terre Haute location and have served nearly 400 cases in our relationship with local law enforcement, prosecutors, and the Department of Child Services. This funding is gap funding. We are making a legislative request for the state of Indiana this year in the upcoming session to respond to the fact that Indiana doesn't currently provide any funding for child advocacy centers, and we're one of 6 states left in the country that doesn't provide a state level appropriation. We have reductions in our federal funding to provide these services to kids and families, so we're coming to our local communities and asking for some bridge funding while we're working on state level funding. We partner with your local sheriff's department. I'm sure that they could speak to the relationship that we have with them as well, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have about the request.
I appreciate everything you guys do, because I know there's a lot of children that are being abused, and I know you guys are trained, you know, how to work with these children. And the only thing I could recommend is for you guys to look at the opiate funds money, because you have unrestricted.
And that suggestion has already been made to the commissioners. I did follow up with Commissioner Davis this afternoon, knowing that Susie's Place was on the commissioner's agenda at the last meeting, and they are currently evaluating
Okay,
the source for the funding.
good.
So once they get that, I'm assuming it will come to us for an appropriation, possibly as early as our next meeting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate your hard work.
Thank you. We really appreciate you as well. So we have 3 locations, Avon, Bloomington, and Terre Haute, and our total budget for the 3 locations is about $2 million.
$15,000 is the drop of the bucket.
cases in Sullivan County last year alone, and that's a 24/7 response. So it is a meaningful investment in what we're doing for Sullivan County.
And the request was sent, I don't know, we saw it as a council, saw a request from Terre Haute's mayor to jump in and help support it. The city of Terre Haute had already pledged a rather large sum of money to get them going immediately, and he kind of put out a plea to other local governments to follow his lead and to support them.
Because Sullivan County uses them.
44 cases, 15,000 is pretty cheap.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
2-3 weeks ago at least. It's been maybe earlier in the month. They come directly from Mayor Sackbun.
I don't remember seeing that.
Yes, sir, please.
How many other children advocacy centers are there in Indiana?
Great question. So there's 24 child advocacy centers across the state of Indiana. Susie's Place is 3 of the 24 to serve all 92 counties. So last year alone, Susie's Place served 46 counties in Indiana. But between our 3 locations, we serve just about 1,400 cases out of our 3 locations. So we are having this similar conversation in other counties that we serve as well. And just as a distinction, we do see all crimes against children, but 82% of our cases last year reports of sex crimes against children. So it's a very unique space in which we partner with law enforcement and prosecutors to provide that safe space for kids when they've been a victim or a witness to a crime.
Appreciate your work.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Any other
Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Jackie?
Yes, I would like to ask the board for permission to attend a conference for training September 21st through the 24th, AIC.
And then the request was made last time we did this, and the council member wanted to attend any of the conferences or training, that they would put the request forward to the board, and that the entire council would make a decision.
I think it's
Need a
good.
motion?
I'll make it.
I'll make a motion to do.
All right.
I'll second.
Got a motion on the table and a second to send Jackie to this training. You got a question on the motion?
No, I was gonna say, I think it's good that anytime somebody can go, that we find out any information we can at these trainings from the state level people.
I think it's a lot of things that's gonna be happening, you know, in our state, in our county next year, and we kinda need to be on top of it. And if I can bring anything back to help you guys, I can do that.
I appreciate you having the time to do that, because I know a lot of us work full-time jobs and don't have time, so I appreciate you having the time and willingness to do that.
That is the advantage of having somebody retired on the council, for sure.
It's a big advantage, yes.
Thank you.
So we've got a motion and a second. Any other questions on the motion? Those in favor of sending Jackie to the conference? Vote carried.
Thank you.
The other thing that I've got that I just made a note, that we talked a little bit about our last meeting about the upcoming MUST activity, and one of the recommendations from the Indiana Association of Councils was that we as a council, in a public meeting, select our representative of who we would like to have represent the county in that meeting. I know we've got those meetings, the mayor had brought that up at our EMA board meeting that Mark and I just come from, that initial report is due to the state by October 1st, so we're within about a 60-day window of that, so we're gonna have to get moving pretty quickly.
Will you be bringing Baker Tilly in here to educate us all, since the new taxes on everything is now turned upside down and changed?
We had made the request of using Baker Tilly for the project. One of the things that we've got with this, I mean, it's kind of evolving, if you would. I mean, the Association of Indiana Counties is putting out information. AIM has put out a lot of information. In fact, the AIM group had a webinar on it today that the mayor is going to provide me a link to once it's made available. So we've had that option of using Baker Tilly, but a lot of what we're doing right now is kind of non-binding, but it's more looking at the county kind of trying to get ahead of it and determine what we think we're going to do.
Well, I know that it would be helpful in doing budgets, and sometimes you can sit and watch a film strip all day long and still not be able to ask questions or do anything. That's just my opinion.
I think it's still evolving is the thing though.
Okay.
And that's kind of why it's pushing out. I think it takes if I'm not mistaken, it becomes active in 2028, so there's still a legislative session in which they intend to hammer out a lot of the details. So the meetings right now are just kind of preliminary. Almost my impression of it is it's a show of good faith that counties are willing to work amongst themselves and can kind of hash out the details versus the state having to dictate a lot. If the counties can't get along with cities, my understanding is the state's going to mandate a lot, but the majority of us can get along and they'll let us use home rule.
Well, I think it's time that the county starts working with the city and all the small towns.
Do you need somebody tonight, or we've still got, you said 60 days?
Well, 60 days, the report's due, and we could start preliminary meetings. And the county honestly is a little bit behind in this. The cities, towns have already met twice, kind of putting together their plan, working with AIM. So I think the further we wait to get somebody to join them, the further behind we're gonna be. Then we should open it up to a recommendation or a nomination.
When do they meet?
Well, since the county is the one who needs to lead and must, until we have a representative to call that meeting, the official meeting is not going to occur.
Okay, you doing it? Do you wanna do it? Cause that's my motion if you wanna do it.
If that's the motion you'll
Okay.
want to make, I will.
I'll make that motion.
I've got a motion that I represent the council.
I've got enough irons in the fire, so I'm not gonna object to that.
Yeah. I've got a motion on the table, second. Wes, those in favor?
Just throw it, don't worry about it.
Thank you, I think.
You're welcome.
Now, one more thing I've got on my list here, and before I bring this up, I want to read a quote that I do have big enough letters that I can actually read. This is something, I've done a lot of thinking, a lot of soul searching since our council meeting last month. And one of the quotes that I've found, it says, "It is unwise for any assembly or society to function without formally adopted rules of order." Lou and I, for the last 3 months, have kind of gone back and forth and worked on a public comment policy for the county. It was talked about 6 years ago, before a lot of us were even on the county, and it kind of died in its tracks. With what we've got going on in our county, I personally think it's time that we do. We've got a lot of voices. It's important that every voice be heard. And the only way that we can do that is if we have respect for each other. It's a whole lot easier to have that order if we have a set of rules in place that everybody is playing by. Like I said, Lou and I have been working on this for 3 months. I honestly was ready to propose this at our last council meeting and did not do so. But what I've got, I've printed off copies for each council member. I've got a stack. I didn't expect this many people to be here tonight, but I do have a stack of about 25 for members of the public who would like to see what the proposal states. I'm not asking for any action on this tonight.
Is that the same email?
Yes, sir?
Same email, public.
Okay. Anybody want to put a copy? With an email? Like I said, I'm not asking for any action on this tonight. I want to throw it out there. I think it's something that is important for us to do. One of the things that personally bothered me at the last meeting, and maybe it's just me, but Mr. Wentz had asked, how do we address the council? I, as the leader of this council, did not have an answer for him. If we consider this and approve it, we will have an answer of how we will do that. Now, if you would, please wait until after we conclude the meeting to grab them. I know they're gonna go fast, but that's what I have. Anybody else have anything they'd like to bring up?
Yes. All right, this is to anybody on the council. I've already talked to a couple. This is, go back in a little history. Back when we were doing the, setting up the solar farms and the tax abatements, we set up EDA payments. when we were setting this up, I think it was in this room, we had commissioners, council, and redevelopment all in the room, and we were all discussing and coming to an agreement how we wanted to do it. When we originally did it, we said, when the money was to come in, none of the money was to be touched or spent until all three groups got together and approved it. Well, since then, the money used to be in this, one of these accounts on this sheet. Then it got taken out without the three groups getting together, and it got put into a mutual fund, which is a smart thing to do, 5% interest, it's all good. My question now, since this EDA money is not within our oversight, who controls it? Where's it at? Who gets to spend it, and can it get spent without us? And we are the fiscal body. And the reason why I ask is I got a copy of June's EDA. Money's being taken out, and it has not come across this board. As far as I know, at least, I don't think I've missed a meeting and I hadn't come across this board. Money's come in, interest payments, which is good, $10,000, $7,202 went out. Don't know anything about it. Does anybody else on this fiscal body that's over the oversight of the money know what's going on, who's doing it, where is it going, how's the process supposed to work? Because I thought that was our job, to approve all that. Thoughts? Because this has been eating me up, because we never know when the EDA payments hit. We don't know when the interest hits. We don't get a report on any of it. It's just happening. We should have some oversight on this. That's what we're elected for. We're not. We're kind of in the dark. And now with this in June, come on. Our interest came in on June 30th, but on June 1st, $7,202.56 went out without the council's knowledge, as far as I know, unless you have knowledge that we don't know.
If I have knowledge of it, I'm not aware that I have knowledge of it.
Okay, so I'm thinking this is something that needs to be looked at, because if money's just going out willy-nilly without us, that don't make sense.
I'm gonna revert this question to you. Is there a way that this should be being done without a appropriation?
County money shouldn't be spent without appropriation.
And I don't know
But I
if
don't
this
know.
was on a one-time thing, without us over the years saying when money comes in, money goes out. I don't know if this is a one-time, one-off, who knows?
Well, I just wonder if, since it's interest, did it get transferred to a different account?
Does it get reinvested?
It gets reinvested.
Gets reinvested?
Because 10,000 came in, 10,000 and something. 7,000 went out before the 10,000 came in. So it was taken out actually before the interest payment came in.
That would be a question for the treasurer to.
I don't know how we need to address this, but in my opinion, it definitely needs addressed. So I'm going to the president of the council, since you're my boss, kinda. We need to put up a plan and make this work. I'm thinking this out.
And you're talking this one transaction, or are you talking
Well,
something going forward?
if this has happened on just the one that I happened to get, has it happened before? How much is it supposed to be in there? Because I don't know how long we've been collecting EDA payments. But according to this, in June, we had $3,396,000. I would have thought we had more than that by now. Don't know that.
And do you have knowledge of this transaction, Amy, or is it something we need to
No,
talk to the
no
treasurer?
money, they have not spent any money out of it. I'm not gonna sit there and listen to this. You want me to answer the question or answer it?
Yes,
You can
ma'am. I would like
contact
to
the
know,
commissioners.
do you have knowledge of the transaction that Matt is?
All it is, they're always reinvested. The
Like that.
treasurer does the reinvesting. can ask for a printout report of every transaction.
So you're saying it just goes right back into the account?
Yeah, she reinvests it every time.
She,
Treasurer. Yep, treasurer is the
So are
only
you
one.
wanting the president to check with the treasurer?
I don't know exactly how we have to handle it, but
You wanna send me,
it
a screenshot?
says
Yeah,
withdrawals,
I'll ask her.
so we
Yeah.
just need to know
Okay, yeah.
withdrawals, who's authorizing it, where it goes, that type of thing.
Nope, send me that screenshot and I'll ask a question for you.
Perfect.
Any other council members have anything? Get a motion to adjourn, do we have a second? We have a second?
You're done?
Sir,
You're not taking
I'd like to
questions?
make a statement.
Yes, sir.
My name's Brett Clinton, I've lived in this county for 56 years. In recent meetings, we've witnessed troubling patterns, information withheld from both the public and council members, voices deliberately silenced, and citizens treated with open disrespect. These actions have not gone unnoticed, and they mark a clear departure from the standards of transparency and accountability that this community expects and deserves from its citizens.
Sure. Amen.
I'm here today to address a serious concern, the lack of transparency and the suppression of differing opinions and self-serving conduct displayed by some members of this council. Council members are elected to serve the citizens of this county, not themselves. When information is withheld from both the public and fellow council members, it undermines the very principles of representative government. When certain voices are silenced, it is not just a procedural failure, it's a failure to serve the people who you represent. Disrespect towards citizens in this chamber is unacceptable and erodes public trust. This county must remember that you work for the people of this county. This council must remember you work for the people of this county, and your duty is to present their interest above your own. You must recommit to full transparency, to allowing all members to speak without obstruction, and to treating every citizen with respect they are owed. Anything less is a betrayal of the public trust, and let it be clear, citizens will no longer accept, excuse, or remain silent about this behavior.
Going back to your presentation about decorum and how we address you, that kind of idea. You're referring to this gentleman here as Lou, I believe?
Yes, ma'am.
Did I understand you to say that he is your attorney, the big we, but you guys, right?
Yes, ma'am, he is our council attorney.
Well, forgive me if I'm confused. He sounded like an advocate for those two people. Every comment I heard was how abatement's good, 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 good. I didn't hear him present anything, food for thought, for those of us that may not have been involved in previous conversations about why abatement may not be good in this case. I just think a more even-handed presentation, if he is your counsel, would be helpful for everybody in this space. That's my
I'd like
thought.
to say one thing. This is our first time doing the council meeting here.
Appreciate it, Bill.
I know that everybody wants the community to do their civic duty and get involved. But my comments are more about how your structure is, simple little things that I think could make a big improvement, could make the people that come here feel more involved, so they know what's going on. Simple things like maybe you have a microphone up there so somebody can speak to make things a little bit more clear. I know that we're all close together, that might help. I've been retired for 20 years. We used to use this thing called PowerPoint, where you could have documents when people are talking about all these financial documents and all these things. You can put them up on a screen. That's not that complicated. It's not real difficult technology. That way the audience out here can get involved when somebody's reading off numbers, they're saying this, doing this, referring to acronyms or whatever. You're not going to get a large group of people or citizens involved when they feel like what they're really doing is just watching you guys talk among yourselves. And that's sort of how it feels. I mean, I'm sure you're all nice guys.
I don't think that's what you want us to think, is it?
I think he wants them to be involved, have an opinion, and I think that's
I'll mention that to our group from Baker Tilly, as they're the ones that do a lot of our presentations.
Thank you.
Yes.
I do know, as Wes had just mentioned, we are talking about trying to find a permanent home instead of moving this room to that room. And if we had a room that was dedicated as a meeting room, we could put better sound system and things like that in it, but
Sure.
if we get all set up in here and then they need the courtroom for something, we're gonna move it all upstairs, and then we gotta try to cram it all in that little bit of room because the whole courtroom's being used, then, you know, we get used to that, and then we gotta take it away because we don't have room in that little space, so we are trying to find better ways, but,
These are sort of just suggestions I think that would really help.
oh, yeah.
To get buy-in from everybody.
To get
what
buy-in,
our-
so people can really know what's going on, and I think the problem is, the reason maybe there's some hostility, it's like, we're sitting out here and I'm wondering why I'm not at home watching TV, it's like, so, that's all I was, is just make this thing so if you want the community to be here, to be informed, be engaged, you have to make the effort to provide the information to that audience so they can
Participate.
participate. It's pretty simple. So, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had quite a few questions actually for Energy, but obviously they left the room. Jackie had mentioned something about some of the cost involved. So their grid connection, is the company going to pay for their grid connection, or the consumer's going to be charged with that amount of money? Also, one of my other questions was, have they changed the footprint? Originally, they were going to use 4 units over there, peaking units. He kind of made it sound like they were only going to install one simple cycle unit. And then also, he mentioned using city water. I have a lot of questions about that. Are you going to use city water for your steam generation? Are you going to use city water just for your typical water usage, restrooms, so on and so forth? And then you're going to have cooling tower water involved in that also. So are you going to access those AEP wells? What's your plan on that? You know, and then, Mitch had talked about the 30% floor, which I think we had that discussion on depreciation at the last meeting. And then also, Jackie had mentioned the $65 billion project that's going on now. I mean, I know everybody keeps talking about $65 billion, but that project's probably only gonna come in at about $30 billion. So there's $35 billion out there that's unanswered for as to what it's gonna be, if there's any plan to make that happen, or if there's not a plan to make that happen. You know, there's a lot of questions here, and I would like to address this gentleman who couldn't really possibly answer the questions. And also, you know, you spoke about the union labor. To my knowledge, they've already signed the national construction agreement to use the boat company. I could have asked that gentleman about that to reiterate that as well. As far as running the meetings and stuff, there's a process called Robert's Rules of Order. And if you have a gavel, when the meeting gets out of order, you strike your gavel and you bring the meeting back into its entirety. There's already processes in place for that. We just don't seem to use them. Maybe that's something we can look at and get that in every council. And as far as the, you know, people not speaking over one another, if you have a microphone or something up there where one individual can step up to the microphone, they can speak into the microphone, that way people aren't walking on top of one another. And I'm pretty sure that the city hall has offered the county to use their facility, which has a state-of-the-art equipment, sound system, and also televisions. Maybe look into that. I don't know if they're wanting to charge you to use that or not, but that's something we may want to look into. They've already spent the money to do it. We can piggyback along with them. It might save a lot of trouble until we can get a facility to do that stuff in. But that's all I have.
The first one's to Lou. If they're trying to tie the EDA into the road use agreement, could that legally be challenged down the road? Say that you're trying to go might find someone who would try to take the position that you have a history of road use agreements which have requirements that fall within a particular set of parameters. And if you suddenly change those parameters, they might claim that they're being discriminated against for some reason. Whether that would be a defensible position or not, I depend on the particulars of the case, but I think there's certainly a possibility that that question could be raised.
And the other question to the council is, when you was asking about that money disappearing, how many people have access to these accounts? Is it just one person, multiple people, or is it anybody comes knocking on the bank's door, gets a handful?
That wouldn't be anybody that knocks on the door. If you want to try that, go knock on the door tomorrow and see how much they'll give you.
But I'm just curious, you know, because usually, most things I know, in banks, at least in business accounts, there's usually, when it's large sums, there's 2 co-signers to every check, checks and balances. Why is that not, I mean, $7,000 disappears out of the account and nobody knows anything. How many other accounts are out there that money's going somewhere with no knowledge?
No, somebody knows where that money went.
But we don't know who somebody is.
Who's gonna look into it?
The treasurer, as was stated when Matt brought it up, he sent me a screenshot. I'm gonna get with the treasurer and see what direction she points me.
Would State Board of Accounts catch this when they do their audits?
They should, yeah.
They should.
But you read about all this all the time now, these usually smaller towns and stuff, money comes out shy. That's just a concern.
It should be a concern.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, I don't know a lot about how things run here, please forgive me if this is an ignorant question, but do you not get a monthly statement of all checks written by the county? Is that not part of your board that you review all the money expended on a monthly basis? If that's stupid, forgive me.
No, but I recently just asked the treasurer for a copy of the check registry, just because I do feel like I am the fiduciary board as well as all of us. And I requested to see it so I could go through it every so often and make sure everything's correct.
But to answer your question, we do not get it automatically, we have to request it.
We don't get a specific check register, but we get a summary of the receipts and expenditures of the county every month.
The
We have a listed of different funds.
funds that we have.
We can see how much come out, but as far as knowing where it went and what it was spent for, we don't.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we don't get details, we get dollar amounts.
Understood, thank you, so I'm sorry for the interruption.
Nope, that's good.
I have a quick question. Wes and Amy Scarborough at the last meeting made several derogatory comments towards journalist Angela Allen, and subsequently Wes admitted to First Amendment retaliation on her job. Do they have any intention to apologize to Angela this meeting and try to make things right, or does the council have any comment regarding that behavior?
I think that our actions speak for where we stand at this point in time. We're trying to get a more structured meeting. We're providing that information to the public. None of us were satisfied with the way that the last meeting was handled at the end of the meeting. It went way farther than it should have, and that's why Jeff and our attorney has come up with a plan for how we can address the public, and the public can address us, so that we can have meaningful conversations. And I think those actions speak for the council today in terms of what we're doing to try to get better at what we do.
I understand. I'm appreciative of better decorum, so no apology, no comment from Wes or Amy. Okay, thank you.
As far as personnel issues, I mean, we're not, the council oversees dollar signs, but we don't really oversee personnel issues, so that's why we handed the letter to the lawyer.
I just want to give them an opportunity to.
I understand, I just wanted to clear that up, that we're not in a position to hire and fire people, that's not on us, so.
Thank you.
Right.
Who handles the personnel issues?
interrupt the council people.
The head of the commissioners. And then each department head is responsible for their own office.
I honestly,
She's talking about elected officials, not.
Oh,
yeah, I think, I'm not sure what the standard is for that, because I've never been in a situation where we've had anything where you wanted to administer anything against another council person, but my opinion would be this, and you may not like the answer here, but that's where the voters come into play. At the next election, that's where your voice is gonna have to be heard, and you can make decisions based upon what you've seen and what you've heard.
Well, I know who's going out.
What rules does it take though to get an apology to somebody? That's what we want.
Yeah, Wesley.
What does it take to be a better man, admit you were wrong, and apologize to somebody? That brings credibility back to that person.
I agree with that.
We have nothing else, we've got a motion and a second on the table to adjourn the meeting, assuming that motion is still active.
No answer.
Those in favor for adjourning the meeting?
Yeah, I'm gonna grab one. Yes, please.